Hey everyone, Mr. Voikin here. We're going to look at the last lesson that's dealing with unit conversions here, and we're going to take a look at area and volume. So we've already taken a look at something that has one dimension, such as length, and we can see that that would be the distance between point A and point B right here. And we would measure those in meters or millimeters or kilometers or micrometers or something like that. Now, when we're talking about area, we have two dimensions. So we have a length and a width. And to calculate the area, we're going length times width. So we have two dimensions that we're multiplying together. So that would end up being meters squared or millimeters squared, kilometers squared, and micrometers squared. And finally, if we're dealing with a volume, we're dealing with three dimensions. So we have a length, a width, and a height. So to calculate the volume of something, we're going length times width times height. So that would end up producing units of meters cubed, millimeters cubed, kilometers cubed, or micrometers cubed. So let's go take a look at an example question here. So we're going to convert 0.289 kilometers squared to centimeters squared. Now, I don't have an actual object here, but I know it's squared, so it's going to have two dimensions. So if I was to lay this out using the dimensions that are given right here, this one area, you can see that we have 0.289 kilometers here, and we would have 1 kilometer right there. And when I multiply the two together, we're going to get that answer. So I can just make one of the lengths the actual area and just make everything else into one. So if I was to convert kilometers to centimeters, 1 kilometer is equal to 100,000 centimeters, and 0.289 kilometers is equal to 28900 centimeters. And now if I was to multiply these two together, we're going to get 2.89 times 10 to the 9, and it would be in centimeters squared. So I can do that by first converting the units, sort of drawing it out like this and converting the units from kilometers to centimeters, and then doing the calculation of length times width right here to get our area. Now, it can be done in a different way, a little bit more mathematically. And what we're going to do is say, well, what do we know? Okay, well, we know that 1 kilometer is equal to 100,000 centimeters. Now, because we're dealing with a area, what I want to do is square that one, and because we have an equal sign here, I would have to square the other side. So therefore 1 kilometer squared is going to equal 1.0 times 10 to the 10 centimeters squared. And now that I have that information right there, I can use two ratios or proportional representation here to basically convert to those new units. So I have 1 kilometer squared, and I'm saying that equals 1.0 times 10 to the 10 centimeters squared. Now I'll make an equivalent fraction, and I say I have 0.289 kilometers squared, and how many centimeters squared would that be? So I'm just going to do some simple cross multiplication again, like here, and we're going to get that x, so So 1x is equal to 1.0 times 10 to the 10 times 0.289. And if you punch that through on your calculator, you're going to get 2.89 times 10 to the 9. Times 10 to the 9. And that would be centimeters squared. And when we look at what we got up top, that is the same answer as we're getting here by doing it with the math. A very sloppy looking 9 there, so I'll just change that really quickly there. 9. Okay, so let's do another example. Let's go with 0.37 kilometers cubed, and we'll go to meters cubed. Okay, well, again, what do I know? I know that 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. Because I'm dealing with a volume, I need to cube this, and I need to cube that one right there. So therefore, 1 kilometer cubed is going to equal 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros, and that would be meters cubed, which is basically going to be 1 kilometer cubed is equal to 1.0 times 10 to the 9 meters cubed. And now I'm just going to set up a ratio again. So I know that 1 kilometer cubed is equivalent to 1.0 times 10 to the 9 meters cubed. Make that equal to, well, what do I know? I know 0.37 kilometers cubed, and I'm trying to find out how many meters cubed that is. A little bit of cross multiplication, and we're going to end up with x is equal to 1.0 times 10 to the 9 times 0.37, and when we punch that into the calculator, we're going to get 3.7 times 10 to the 8, and the units are meters cubed. All right, so we'll try another one. We're going to do 2.14 times 10 to the 4 millimeters squared, and we're going to go to micrometers squared. So this time we're already starting off with something in scientific notation. And what do I know? I know that 1 millimeter is equivalent to 1,000 micrometers. And because I'm dealing with an area, I need to square both of these because we're saying they're equal. Therefore, 1 millimeter squared is going to equal 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros micrometers squared. And that means that 1 millimeter squared, if I simplify this with scientific notation, is 1.0 times 10 to the 6 micrometers squared. And again, just set up my ratios. So 1 millimeter squared is 1.0 times 10 to the 6 micrometers squared. We're going to make that equal to another fraction with the same units in the same position because it's equal. And what do I know? I know millimeters squared was 2.14 times 10 to the 4 millimeters squared, and I'm trying to find out how many, so x micrometers squared that'll be. Again, cross multiplication, we'll end up with x equaling 1.0 times 10 to the 6 times 2.14 times 10 to the 4, and that is going to be 2.14 times 10 to the 10 micrometers squared. So in the last video that I gave you, I was telling you, you need a good calculator and you need to understand how to input and convert between sort of standard numbers and scientific notation numbers. So please make sure that you are proficient with that. Okay, one more. We're going to look at now doing this with the Imperial Units, and it's not really any different except that we're dealing with a different system. But if we want to go 7.1 cubic feet, or feet cubed, to inches cubed, or cubic inches, what do we know? Well, we know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. And because we're dealing with a volume, I need to cube that, and I need to cube that. Therefore, 1 cubic foot is equal to 12 times 12 times 12. And I'm just going to put it in scientific notation, 1.728 times 10 to the 3 inches cubed. And we set up our ratio, so 1 foot cubed is equal to 1.728 times 10 to the 3 inches cubed, and make that equal to an equivalent fraction or ratio, which would have 7.1 cubic feet here. And how many cubic inches is that? Cross multiply, and we end up with x equals 7.1 times 1.728 times 10 to the 3. And when we multiply that straight out as a straight number, a standard number, we're going to get 12268.8, and that would be inches cubed. And if we were to put that into scientific notation, we'd get 1.22688 times 10 to the 4th inches cubed. And again, if they wanted us to round that to, say, 2 decimal places, I would end up with 1.23 times 10 to the 4 inches cubed. Okay, I have one last one to go over here. And we'll look at another one with the imperial system. So we're going to go from 24.5 feet and say how many square feet, how many square miles will that be? Again, what do I know? I know that 1 foot is equal to, actually let's do it the other way around here. Let's go 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. Okay, so I'm dealing with an area, so I need to square that side, and therefore 1 mile squared is equal to 2.78784 times 10 to the 7 feet squared. Set up my ratio. So 1 mile squared is 2.78784 times 10 to the 7 feet squared. Make that equivalent to a fraction with miles is what we're going to. So that's going to be the x up top here. And I already knew the feet squared was 24.5 feet squared. And we're going to cross multiply. Now in this case, we're going to end up with 2.78784 times 10 to the 7x is equal to 24.5. And I'm going to divide both sides by 2.78784 times 10 to the 7, and that will basically eliminate that, leaving us with, oops, that went a little quick, x is equal to 8.79 times 10 to the negative 7 miles squared. Okay, now I know I said that was the last one, but I'm just going to do one really quickly here. Just going back to more of a pictorial or graphics representation of this. So Let's look at going from 0.07 meters cubed to millimeters cubed. So just to sort of show you how this works again, if I was to take a cube right here and I want to represent the size of this cube with the numbers that I have up top, remember I'm just going to make one of them into the meters, 0.07 meters. That'd be my length, and my width would just be 1 meter, and my height would be 1 meter. That way when I go 0.07 times 1 times 1, that is going to equal what I started out with there. So what I can do again is, if I don't like using this system that I've done it in the last few questions there, we can draw it out like this. Let me just get back to where I was. So what do I know about 1 meter? Well, 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters, and this is 1,000 millimeters. And this is going to be 70 millimeters. So when I have a length times width times the height in this situation, I've got 70 times 1,000 times 1,000, which is going to equal 7 with 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the units are millimeters cubed because I'm multiplying it by 1, 2, 3 dimensions. And now to put that into scientific notation, so it's a little bit easier to read, it's just 7.0 times 10 to the 7 millimeters cubed. That's it. I'm done. Hope this was helpful.